Hey there, Streakers. Before we get started with this episode of the Streaking Podcast, I want to give you a little bit of a word from the MyStreaks app, which happens to be our sponsor. If you're tired of starting things and not sticking with them, this app is for you. MyStreaks helps you build daily consistency in the areas that matter most, whether that's parenting, fitness, faith, leadership, or finally flossing more than 3 days in a row. Seriously though, streaks work. And after today's episode, you'll understand why in a whole new way. So head to the Apple App Store or Google Play and download the MyStreaks Streak Tracker app today. Hey there, Streakers. I'm looking forward to my guest today. He is a fantastic individual who's a nationally respected sales strategist and founder of the Top Performance Group, known for creating top-performing sales culture. With a decade of experience, he has mentored hundreds of service-based professionals from major companies around the United States. He was named KSL's 5's Industry Leader for Business Coaching for 2025. His impact has been with insurance agents and also allowed him to be named Insurance Business Magazine's 2024 Rising Star. Tyler, sorry, I just gave his name away. I wasn't going to till the end, but his insights on optimism and top performance principles have made significant impact on the sales industry. So let's give a great big streaking welcome to Tyler Jensen, and let's start streaking. What is streaking and why should you do it?
Streaking is how you set up personal winning streaks. Look at who you want to be and what you need to do to become that person. This is streaking.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jamie.
And we are streakers. Through 30 years of marriage and 7 children, we have learned the power of consecutive consistency or streaking.
To start streaking is simple. You just follow these 3 laws. Make it laughably simple, keep a record, and join the streaking community.
Streaking is your hidden superpower. With it, you will consistently progress and grow in whatever area of life you want.
In this podcast, Jeff and I will share all the fun, exciting, serious, solemn, wonderful parts of family, spiritual, professional, and personal life, and how streaking powers it all.
So join us in the conversation, join the movement, and start streaking today.
Jeffrey, thank you for that intro. Wow.
You're welcome. Wow. It's so great to have you on. So I got to start out first of all with, when did you get one of the things that Tyler does, and he does this through his presentations and so forth, is magic. And I got to ask, where did that start? Give us the magic road, and then you could probably weave in the other road as well.
Yes, lovely magic. Little flip of the wrist.
I love it.
So that actually started almost as a joke, honestly. Because my wife, we were in college at the time, watching America's Got Talent, and my wife's like, "You can literally do like everything. I bet you can even do magic." And I was like, not gonna lie, I probably could.
You had that amount of confidence where you're like, yeah, I think I got this.
Yes, and I love that confidence. It actually reminds me of, I was at a golf tournament and the contest was to drive the green on a par 4, and I was like, cool, I got it. Put it right on the green. And I've never been that confident. And I was like, well, that's just what I do. Anyways, but yeah, so my wife and I were watching America's Got Talent, of all things, and it was the year Matt Franco won AGT. And so I was like, I bet you I can learn that. So I studied for like a year, watched videos, practiced, did all different items. And at the end of the year, I was able to do all the tricks that Matt did to win.
Really? Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was so fun. And then, kind of as a fun treat for that, my wife and I went down to Vegas, went to a Penn and Teller show, and then I actually performed down there in Vegas.
Did you really? Oh, that's fantastic.
Paid by people. It was crazy. I was doing magic, and all of a sudden I got paid for it. And it kind of sparked this love of entertainment and doing things that are unique and powerful, and positioning yourself in ways that just brings out your own uniqueness and your own character.
That's neat. I got to ask, so you learned all of Matt Franco's tricks. I thought that magicians never revealed their secrets. So how did you just figure them out, or how did you learn it?
It was a little bit of, so understanding the basics of magic one of the biggest things that you learn, of course, is card control, right? So you can take these ones are signed. I just event. We won't use that one, but
Yeah.
we can take any card. And the thing about it is, you have to learn how to control cards. Okay, so when you take this, right, and what we can do here, right, is we can take it and just place it anywhere in the deck. But the thing about cards is, you always know exactly where it is. Okay, you can take, put it back in, but yet it always just
It
comes.
always comes right up to the top.
And so, no matter how much you do it, right, you can put it in again, right? You can see it flip over, you can see it slide in, but I'm gonna go wherever you want.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Right? So once you understand some of the fundamentals, all of a sudden you can start working out tricks. And a lot of tricks are all based on similar concepts, right? I love that, in essence of business as well, right? Business
Right.
has principles that have been around for centuries, hundreds of years, right? You can even take some of the best principles from the Bible to run a business, right? It's
Right.
been around for centuries, but yet it's the way we position and adapt and change and create that makes it unique and more of a thought leader. And so
Yeah.
that's ultimately, what magic is. It's taking those sound principles of magic and card control and perception and the way we view things, and it's putting your own twist on it. So, yeah, that is, I mean, if Matt ever watches this, not knocking him, but incredible magician. But a lot of ones he did on AGT, right, were a lot of the basic principles of magic with twists to them.
Yeah.
Uh, Now
Wow.
his show on Vegas is outstanding, and there's a lot of tricks. I have no idea how he does it. But of course, that's the joy of a magician, is trying to figure out how other tricks work.
Yeah, definitely. So with that, let's go into your journey as far as to the top performance group. Walk us a little bit through where your career started and how you got to where you are now.
Okay. Jeff, this is always a fun story because it all stems back with my parents. I always attribute everything I've learned to my parents because they were all in education. And that's
Yeah.
where I gained my passion and love of teaching and training and providing insights. My dad worked at the university his entire career. My mom was a professor, high school teacher. My grandpa was a professor. So the education's always been an aspect in our family. And that was my first career, actually. I was the corporate trainer for Weber State University.
Oh,
Um,
really?
did that for 3 years, was their IT and their marketing trainer. That's where my nerdiness background comes in, and I'm a nerdy maverick. So, and from there, it was a crazy experience, Jeff. I actually opened an insurance agency.
Really?
Went from corporate training in a university to opening an insurance agency.
Was
Don't know.
that a financial move, or was that we were like, oh, we got to bring some money into the house, or what was that move?
A little bit of both. So, of course, I met the hiring manager and, had this dream of owning a business, which I've always wanted to do. And I got to market myself. That was what my degree was in. I love marketing. So it seemed like a great fit. And it was wonderful. I opened that agency. I built it. I had 4 employees at one point, but I exited that industry and went back to corporate after a few years and became Farm Bureau's corporate trainer. And so, I mean, when I tallied it up, I trained over 200 licensed agents in my time
Wow.
working at
Wow, no kidding. Yeah.
and from there, right, I went corporate. And I soon realized, well, I want to own my own company again, as it is with corporate. Um, but it was a moment when I ran an insurance agency
Uh-huh.
that really kind of sparked the catalyst of what I do and where top performance came into play. Because I was sitting in my office, right? There was a moment, it was within the first 6 months of owning an agency, right? In a scratch insurance agency, you have to back pay commissions if somebody cancels. And you don't have residuals, you don't have previous clients, right? You're within your first couple months. And I had the largest policy I'd ever written cancel. And so I had to back pay $12,000 in
Ooh.
commission that month.
Ooh, that's no fun.
And so here I was writing a payroll check, a personal checking account,
Yeah.
thinking,
Wow.
how do I become a top performer? All these doubts, all these, negative comments and setbacks. And I just wanted to quit. I wanted to be complacent. And it
Yeah.
was at that moment I realized we can become a victim of our circumstance or a victor of our opportunities. And so I took that moment, I learned from it, and I started studying top performers. I wanted to know what made a top performer a top performer. What was their system? What was their processes? What was their models? What did they follow? What did they eat in the morning, right? I wanted to know everything about a top performer. And so that's why I researched for several years. I was able to kind of leverage my position as a corporate trainer to meet and talk with and interact with top performers all around the nation.
Wow.
And that's where I put together our framework of top performance, the four
Yeah.
pillars of top performance that we get to now apply into sales cultures.
So was it top performers in it didn't matter what the industry or the discipline, you were just looking at top performers, or was there a specific industry discipline that you were looking at?
Ideally, of course, my background is in insurance. That's what I was training. So a lot of the people I looked at were top agents, but I
Yeah.
did not limit it there, right? Every
Okay.
type of book I studied, every course I took, everything I was looking at were essentially just top performers from athletes to Olympians to business owners to even, you could say, top performing parents,
Yeah.
right? And
Wow.
church leaders and mentors, right? That had aspects of top performance because the beautiful thing that I discovered, Jeff, is that top performance can be found anywhere and by anyone and at different moments in their lives.
Okay, so let's get into it. What did you find as you went through this research? What started to stick out through the research? And maybe rather than going to the end where you had the framework, walk us through a little bit about what were some of the aha moments as you started to see what top performers did.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I noticed right off the bat was a top performer operated by systems. Everybody had a system they followed, whether it was through a morning routine, you're on streaking, right? It was a streak. Everything they did was a streak, right? It was consistent. It was repeatable. But yet, the thing I learned about systems is it's not a ritual,
Hmm,
right? There's flexibility within a system. It's a safeguard. It's a direction that keeps us where we want to go.
hmm.
Of course, there has to be flexibility, and that's how you're good at sales. That's how you overcome objections. That's how you stay on top of new and emerging things. But the system is what guided it. So I learned how to build systems, and then from there, I realized that you have to understand how to overcome challenges and trials, and that's where our so systems is actually our number two pillar. I didn't discover number one until years later, but I
Oh,
thought
really?
it was
So systems came up first,
yeah,
but
yep,
that's really not number one.
not number
It
two.
okay.
Yep. Because the first one I didn't discover till years later. And so the number three is actually its power, right? Because when we're operating systems, it doesn't get rid of the fact that we're going to have trials, we're going to have setbacks, things aren't going to work.
Yeah.
Even if you have a good system, oftentimes, depending on the situation, it may not work, right? You take an NFL quarterback and he may have the best play to throw the ball to a wide receiver, but it doesn't mean he catches it every single time. Right? That's the same thing with business. Right? It doesn't mean we get to close every single deal, or it doesn't mean we, operate if that system works. So learning how to overcome trials and setbacks became that next pillar is we had to learn how to exercise power. Now, yep, this was my nerdiness. Okay. I always study what's called etymology. Now, those that are listening, I don't know. Etymology means the study of words and their origin. Okay. So, looking at this, here we got a history lesson for you. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oftentimes, people hear this phrase knowledge is.
Power.
There you go. See, look, you even can complete it, Jeff. Everybody's heard it. Okay. Is attributed to Francis Bacon, way back in the 1500s. Okay. But I'll tell you this, it is not accurate today.
Okay.
Okay. And here's the reason. I'll give you one example of why it's not. If AI has access to the most knowledge, wouldn't it be the most powerful thing in the world?
Wow. Great point.
Now, AI lacks something that we as humans have within us, and it's the ability to act.
Mm.
Okay. So knowledge without action is just potential power.
Mm.
Now, you look at the root word of power, and power is a transfer of energy. It's an action behind it. Now, you look at the word wisdom.
Mm.
Wisdom in its etymology state means applied knowledge. It means action. It stems from the same root word as action. And so a
Mm.
better phrase for that is wisdom is power.
Mm.
We have to take everything that we learn, and if it's not applied, there's no power behind it. We have to apply what we learn. And that's what
Wow.
turned it into wisdom. So top performers had wisdom in what they were doing.
Hmm.
And
So
that came,
so number two, we haven't. I don't think we've talked about number one yet, right? So we've got number two, which is systems, and then number three, which is the wisdom applying the power or application within that system. They have not only the knowledge. They don't have only the knowledge. They have the action behind that knowledge. They're using that knowledge to move forward and to make sure that they are applying what they've learned. Is that fair? Am I representing that good?
that is the power that you have to have, right? Because
Okay.
without power, right? When I discovered all this, I also discovered the opposite of top performance, which is complacency, right? Without systems, we operate in chaos, right? We're just busy all the time. So we call complacently busy. And systems prevent that. But without that power, we get stuck in our natural complacency, which is induced by pessimism and fear.
Hmm.
So when things don't work, right, and the next time you have to make a phone call, your brain, your amygdala, your emotional regulation in here turns back on, and it says, "Jeff, don't make that phone call again. That was scary last time. What are you doing?
Right.
Why are you making us call this person again?" Like, we don't want to do that, right? And it induces complacency,
Yeah.
poor decision making, reluctance, and it's the biggest hidden cost to businesses.
My wife and I, we were talking this morning about doubt and fear.
Mhm.
And it's interesting you bring this up because as we were talking about doubt and fear, one of the things that she said is, I've noticed when I have a lot of doubt and fear that occupies a lot of mental power. And therefore, I block out the creative power, the creative opportunities that I might get because I have doubt and fear.
You're spot on, Jeff. That's
Hmm.
it. Our brains are going to cut the creativeness because of past experiences, or our brain will even take it so far as making up future experiences,
Hmm.
right? And that can come up in different forms of anxiety or different, examples of
Well,
things that are having to happen.
what brought to mind too, just there, is you mentioned anxiety. A definition of anxiety, and you probably know it, but etymology, the definition of anxiety that I heard is fear of future events that may or may not happen. And so you're looking at it, you're going, okay, so I'm anxious for something that may or may not happen. Do I really need to have fear of that? But our brain starts to, and you check me on this, but my brain starts to go back to past events where I may have had a bad experience with that and therefore project it into the future. And projecting it into the future, then I start to have anxiety over it because it may or may not happen, but I don't know.
Correct. You're spot on. When it comes to fear, right, that fear is keeping us in complacency. Things that people fear, odds are that only about 3% of everything you fear will actually happen.
Yeah,
So 97% of the things that we're fearful of will never
are
even
not
happen.
going to happen.
They're not
But
going to
we're
happen.
going to live in the 3% because that's the place where we want to be.
We feel safe,
Yeah.
right?
Isn't
And
that amazing though? I mean, you think about that and it's like I'm going to live in 3% versus 97% and how much power I could give that 3%. I mean, it's amazing.
it is. So it's learning to take that power and change thinking. So we no longer see failures. We no longer see those in life, right? We can actually overcome that because there's no such thing as failure if you had the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
And that's where success comes in.
Hmm.
And that's what led me to really kind of the last principle that I discovered. I haven't figured out number one yet, right at this
Okay,
point.
so we're still walking down the path. So you got the last principle, but not number one. I'm excited for number one. When this finally comes up, I think it'll be fantastic. All right, give us the last one, number 4.
So number 4, I realized that there is no fear when the focus is clear.
Hmm.
And that last pillar is focus. It's having that daily direction to continue and to improve. It's the goals, it's the direction of leadership, it's the strategic plans that push us forward. Now, looking at, recognizing, this pillar, looking at the word top performance, when you apply those, right, you experience top performance. We've all had top performing days, which is why I said everybody's experienced it at some point in their lives. Even if you're not considered a top performer by your company, you've experienced a top performing day because you've operated within these pillars. Now, the word top performance, in its root state, it's an Indo-European or Indo-Grammatic word topa and an old French word parvenir, which means summit and to do.
Hmm.
When you look it back into its original context, way back in the 1500s, it was one who summited a mountain. That's what they called a top performer. And so when you look at that, mountains can teach us a lot of principles, right? As you get on a trail and as you hike and as you do the work, you have to follow the system if you want to get to the top. That's the trail, right? You have to have the power and the experience. You can't just go hike a mountain, right? I have a mountain literally right here in my backyard. But for me who is fit, it's going to take me 6.5 hours to hike that mountain. And you elevate to over 6,000 feet. Okay. You have to have power. You have to have that understanding to get there. But you also have to focus, right? There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be trials. There's going to be rattlesnakes. There's going to be everything you can imagine on that trail. But
There's
then
there's even going to be false peaks where you thought you reached the top and you didn't yet.
Correct. And that focus, when people get to that top of the mountain, this is actually where I see the most detrimental aspects to a business. And it's what we call our third complacency model, which is the self-made complacent. So when they get to the top of the mountain, they experience top performance, but then they say, I'm good. I don't need to scale another mountain. I don't need to progress. I don't need to change anything. I'm good where I'm at.
So self-complacency then, as you look at the top of the mountain, basically you've had success, good success, things that you look at and you say, I'm here, and what further do I need to go? And therefore become complacent. But I've always lived under the adage that you're always either moving forward or going backward, but you're never staying the same. It's always one direction or another. Because I look at it as we're in the river of life. And the river of life, I'm always paddling upstream. And as soon as I stop paddling, I'm going back downstream. And I don't know if I want to go back to where I was.
Yep. That is exactly right. And it's the hardest to spot within individuals.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing that we have to realize is that top performance is summiting a mountain. And that means not just getting to the top, but it also means getting back down.
Yeah.
The entire journey is what we have to do every day.
Yeah.
Every day you wake up and you have to step on that trail and say, what mountain am I summiting today? But now here's the kicker, okay, is I discovered all these things, but I never viewed myself over years and years. When I look back at that agency, I looked at everything that I did after I had that moment, right, writing my payroll check. I ended up winning the company award for that first year. I ended up hiring and scaling my agency. But yet I never viewed myself as a top performer until almost 6 years later. And it's when I discovered that first pillar that makes everything work within this formula.
Okay.
And that first pillar is optimism.
Wow. Talk to us about that.
Optimism is the key to top performance. Without the correct mindset, and its Latin word, optimus, it means best. You have to view things as the best possible outcome for your future. And so those moments I had in my agency, they were the best outcome I could have had for my future in those moments. Everything we do, every action we take, we have to view it as this is going to have the best possible outcome for my future. It's Latin word is best. Everything we do, we have to have the best perspective. We have to provide the best experiences. We have to become the best version of ourselves. We have to take the best action. And when we do that, when we start with optimism, every day becomes joyful and journey.
So as you look at that, and I love that optimism is something that you discovered later on. And I'm curious, so you've got pillars 2, 3, and 4, and you're thinking this is it. These are the three pillars that we need really to be top performers, what I'm seeing. So when you got there though, something was missing. You're like, no, there's something missing. What was that moment? What do you remember? And it may not have been a moment, but maybe you could walk us just a little bit about, okay, for whatever reason, these three don't work on their own. There has to be the optimism at the front end.
Yes. So I had my frameworks, I had them all written out, right? Systems, power, focus, and I had the diagram of exactly how our brains work, right? I had systems, we go up to things work, down to things don't. When things don't work, it leads to failure and fear and complacency, but we can switch directions and have power in the middle. It applies into our systems, we see success. We had focus, which is the exact opposite of fear. And then we had top performance, the exact opposite of complacency, right? The model all worked. And, right, it was this moment where I realized that there had to be a constant loop of learning and discovery, because everything we were doing, I had everything written out, but actually I had a whole different section just on optimism. I thought it was just kind of a cool point, but I realized we have to have best systems. We have to exercise our best power. We have to have best focus, and we have to do that every single day to find joy, because without the correct mindset, without viewing what we're doing as being successful, there's no joy, right? There's no purpose behind those goals if we can't find fulfillment
Right.
every single day from that.
Yeah.
And we have to look at things as the best outcome. I actually had an experience on the mountain where the Lord taught me this principle. Now, I'll be frank with everybody listening. I was hunting. So if that offends any of you, do that. I hunt. Okay. We were hunting this buck as a muzzleloader hunt, and so you have to be close, right?
I was going to say a muzzleloader, you have to be
You gotta
really
be
close. Yeah.
close to the deer. Okay, so we were tracking this deer. We knew where it bedded down. We knew where it went. It went across the front of the mountain over this grass area, so it bed down at night, but then it bed down in the day in the woods where you can't get it at that point. We tracked it
Right.
for a few days. We knew exactly where it was, and so we had snuck down to the perfect spot. And we were camped up there. We could see it down below. We had a spotter on it, letting us know when it was getting up. And it would cross right in front of us. It would be about less than an 80-yard shot, depending on how far you went going across us. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And I got this thought, and it said, you need to move now and go after the deer. You're going to lose it. And I was like, what? No.
Yeah.
I'm in the perfect spot right here, right where I'm at. And I heard it a second time. You need to move now. Gosh, the deer, you're going to lose it. And I was like, come on. Like,
Promptings always come in threes, no matter what. It does not matter. It's always threes.
if I go over there, I have to shoot off a cliff. It's going to be a 160-yard shot. Like, no, like it's going to come this way. And I heard it a third time, and it said, all good thoughts come from God. This is a good thought. Go after that deer. You're going to lose it. And I sat there and I didn't listen to that prompting. It wasn't 5 minutes later, Jeff, that the winds changed and the deer caught the scent and it darted directly up the mountainside.
Wow.
We lost the deer.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I thought about that experience, and it was hard to grasp, right? I was like, man, we had these deers, we had, that experience, and now we don't have a deer. Like, what am I supposed to learn from that? And it was that moment that's where I discovered that last loop on that complacency model. Is it's easy for us to be a self-made complacent, think that we're good where we're at and that we're happy where we are. But the Lord had to teach me that every experience has to have the best outcome for us. So me losing that deer had to be that best outcome. And now I look at that whole trip, and it was one of the best trips I've ever gone hunting. Versus when I first was there, I was so mad that I had to hike into these mountains. I was tired, I was exhausted, I didn't even get to bring out a deer. But it all changed just due to that one shift of my mind to optimism of what I could learn from that experience.
That is fantastic. What a neat story, and what a neat experience that brought it all together. So how then do you use magic as you explain these principles?
Yes. So I take what's unique to me, right?
Yeah.
Part of my power that I get to bring is creativity. So artwork, magic, anything that's unique to me, I get to come and teach and experience. So I took magic. I was actually keynote speaking. This is how I actually started doing magic. But then I was keynote speaking, and one of the other speakers, we got to know each other pretty well after the event, and we were at lunch together one day, and we were just chatting. He found out I was an artist, and he found out I could do magic, and he's like, "Why are you not using these in your keynote?" I was like, "I don't know. Like, I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, that's just what I do. I just deliver these principles and never do magic." And so I started looking at how can I incorporate this, and so I just took tricks that I do and matched them with these business principles. And
Yeah.
so a lot of these stories. So the story that I share initially with writing that check, I actually did it for an event I did this morning where I signed my name on that card, and we did a
Yeah.
whole on setbacks and trials, where the cards get all shuffled into each other and then they all work their way back out. Um, so it's just taking those same principles and putting that touch of magic behind it, and then really with sales culture. It's kind of a cool one that I do. I don't know if you can see this within magic. If this is listening, you can't see it, but if you can actually see it,
Oh yeah.
I'll actually do on here. This is what we teach.
This is
Like
great.
everything into ultimately sales culture, right? So we're gonna take the fours, right? Because there's 4 pillars of top performance. Now, another history lesson, the Latin word for culture is what we help build is the Latin word for care,
Okay.
C-A.R.E. Okay. So now, when it comes to these, we just have to put distractions on them, right? So if we were to look at these are literally just distractions we're going to put on these. You don't have to remember any of these. Doesn't matter what they are. Okay. So it stands for customers, attributes, reputation, and employees. Those are the 4 aspects of a sales team and cycle. Okay. So when we take this last one, this is the most important. Employees is what makes up the whole team and organization. So this is our top performance rock.
Oh, love it.
I
Yeah, that is cool.
Super fun. So we're going to make sure that that's covering that one there. Now, the first thing we always look at, right, is the customers, right? How do we improve customer experience? How do we obtain customers? As part of a whole sales cycle, we need customers. But too many businesses, they look at a customer and they focus solely on price. Okay, that's all that they do. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 cards. We focus on price. We lose all value proposition, and our sales disappear.
Wow.
Now, the next one is our attributes as a leader. Okay, so when we look at the attributes as a leader, it's super important. We have to become the best version of ourselves. We have to lead the best way possible. But when we lose sight of that daily progression and becoming the best version of ourselves, our ability to lead disappears as well.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Now, reputation is very visible. Okay. It's how we help our clients. It's the client experience. It's the service. It's how we retain customers. So we're going to leave that one right up. Make sure this
Yep,
camera
we
right.
got it. Yeah, it's going, and it looks great. Yeah, perfect.
So we'll leave it face up. Okay. So you can actually see it in there. We'll count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. But when we lose sight of the customer experience and the relationship we have and how we fulfill that long-term commitment, reputation's gone. And now you count them 1, 2, 3, 4, just like
Oh,
that.
wow.
Now, this last one is so important, right? It's all about the customer or the employee, right? I always
Right.
say that employee experience precedes customer experience. So part of the sales culture, these all make up the sales culture. How we sell, how we lead, how we retain clients, and how we retain our employees is we need all of these operating at top performance. We need systems for each of them. We need the optimism behind each of them. We need focus. We need goals. We need everything for all 4 of these. So with organizations, that's what we come and teach. We focus first on the employees. And when we do that, you will find that we can truly care.
No way. All right. So, streakers, just let me say, if you're only listening to this, you got to switch over to the YouTube to watch it, because what Tyler just did is so phenomenal with being able to. He did cards and they had C.A.R.E on them. And again, you may want to switch over to the YouTube and take a look at what he did, because Tyler, that is not only entertaining but also impactful, because now I have locked in my memory care and what each one of those mean and how that got together. So that's really phenomenal. So that's one of the magic tricks that you'll do in order to emphasize that particular area of business and those things. Is that right?
It is. Yeah.
Wow. Now, do you with that? Just let me a little side note here for a second. Do you come up with custom tricks at times for different organizations, or do you have just your a standard group of tricks that you'll pull from at any given time to emphasize a particular point?
Yeah. So I can do, I mean, just like on the spot, if you were just like, hand me a deck of cards and you're just like, do a trick, I could probably pull out about 100 different tricks.
Okay, so you have 100 right there that you could just
I
immediately go to.
Urban Ingo too. Um, and so, I mean, depending on the organization or what I need to adapt or anything, I can change or adapt or, make things unique depending on
Yeah,
circumstances.
yeah. So, what has been, as you've gone through this career, and this has been fantastic, tell us a little bit about how your family has journeyed with you on this, because I'm sure there's been a lot of support in the background where this has been, okay, Tyler, we're with you, but we need to see where and everything that you've got going.
Yes. 100% gratitude to my wife behind all of it, behind everything. She's always been the cheerleader behind all of everything entrepreneurial that I do. Um, and when I start this company, and even today, she went back to work. She's now a physics teacher. That's what she had her degree. And she was a stay-at-home mom, but she went back to work to supplement the income for the family for us, right? So
Wow.
we're
Yeah.
growing. Helped me with shipping out products, helped me with different items. So it's always been a kind of a journey and experience, but we love it, teaching our kids that they can do, anything they put their mind to. They
That's what I was
help.
going to say is probably and tell us, how old are your children?
So I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old, a
Okay.
girl, and a girl.
So this is so fantastic because you get to start them early in life with what you are instilling in cultures and businesses and people, that you have these 4 pillars and that you can accomplish these things. I mean, right from the time that they're born to when they go through teenagers, it'll be exciting to see the Jensen family just succeed in so many different areas because you have these principles and you've studied them and you've looked at them. I mean, that just is phenomenal to me.
Yeah. They love business. They're always looking for little business deals they can do. My
Do any of
daughter,
them do magic?
they do, honestly.
Okay.
They do. They're the sweetest things. My son will take a pile of cards and he'll go like this, and he'll say, "Is this your card?" And we're like, "Well, I haven't picked you." And he's like, "Okay, this is your card." And he'll go like this, and he'll move him like this, and he'll keep them like this, and then he'll put it back on top and say, "Is this your card?" And it's
Yep, it sure is. That is so great.
so they're always my test subjects whenever I'm doing a new trick. I always pull them in first, and
Yeah.
I can perform it for the kids without them noticing everything. I know I can do it for a stage of adults because
Okay,
they're
so there's another question that's been burning in the back of my brain that from the very beginning, you said you started training with IT and what was the other one? IT, say that again?
so I was the IT and marketing trainer.
And marketing. Okay. So the thing that typically does not translate necessarily over into sales. So how did you was it just something you're like, "You know what? I loved either talking to people or I love helping people get their needs," or how did that go into sales? Or had you always been a salesperson and it just now came out again?
Yeah, so I've always loved sales. I've always ran businesses. I had a little lawn care business when I was 14. Uh, and I always had some form of sales. I always loved kind of that aspect. And, and then of course, owning an agency, I really had to dive into sales, right? And so I had to sell as a scratch agent. So learning and studying and researching. But what really drew my passion behind sales, I mean, I've read some sales books, but the one that truly changed my perspective on sales, it was actually this book right here by Daniel H. Pink, which is
Oh
called.
yeah, to sell is human. Absolutely.
And I love the approach and how he took it more on a psychological standpoint of sales, um, and understanding the psychological aspects of the human behavior rather than more of like the tactical sales strategies and
Yeah.
that. And so that's where I really kind of leaned more into, and that's where I discovered a lot of that aspects within the top performer of the optimism and the mindset and how that works with human psychology. And so then when I built out our overcoming objections process of our sales culture, we call it the attunement process.
Mm,
Uh, the word attune in its Latin form is to bring in harmony one with another. And that's what we do with overcoming objections is we're bringing harmony to different parties to have
yeah.
the same understanding. And so we created an overcoming objection process that's built on the human psychology of attune, unite, transition, and close. Whereas a lot of sales strategies start you straight on transition, right? Where you hear objection, they tell you the exact phrase to try and overcome it. But
Yeah.
when you do that, you lose out on all the different psychographics of where a human mind can go.
Yeah.
When we start with attune, we understand the human behavior of where they're viewing. We become united on the situation and what needs to be resolved. And then we have the freedom to transition based off of where their psychology is in order to close the
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. I too have loved sales for much and more so because of the reason, like you said, being able to interact with individuals, attune to them. Great word and an excellent way to say it. I Bob Proctor is someone who I have listened to a couple of different times, and he talks about bringing tuning forks together, and that if one is at a certain frequency, even bringing it close will tune those two together. And I may have that analogy completely wrong, but it's the similar type of thing that I look at. Um, One other question that I had for you is, oh, and I got to remember what it was. I just had it and it just slipped my mind because we're going into attunement. Um, fails. I'm curious about if you've had a magic fail and what was it and how did you recover?
Yes. Yeah. There's always going to be failure in magic. And I learned early on that it is okay to fail. Okay. Now I'll go back to the first magician I was watching, Matt Franco.
Okay.
Matt Franco messed up on a trick live on stage on America's Got Talent, and he still won America's Got Talent.
Wow, really? He did. He just blew. I didn't see it, but he blew the whole trick. I mean, does it just?
He blew the trick, and yet he still saved it.
Wow.
Okay. Um, that card routine I showed you at the very beginning, where I put the 6 in the deck and it just kept rising up and it appeared
Yeah.
in my mouth, right?
Yeah.
He did that same trick, only a different card appeared in his mouth, and he lost the card in the middle of the deck completely.
So he did not have card control. It was who knows where. Gotcha.
It's a simple miss, right? It's the sleight of hand technique, which is super easy to mess up, and it messed up. The wrong card got put in the wrong spot in the sleight of hand, and all of a sudden his card's lost in the middle of the deck. And yet he still saved it. He made a joke out of it, and he found the card, and he continued the trick, and then he closed with value. Now, I say that because I have those same experiences, right? When anything messes up, when you have, I'll tie it back to my own principle. When you have systems in place, you cannot fail, right? When you have power and you have the experience, you know how to turn any failure into a success, right? Systems are safeguards, okay? The system that we have, right, within Magic, if something fails, all of a sudden we just view it as part of the trick, and now we just say, okay, that was supposed to happen, and now I'm going to do something else to find that card that I need to find again. And so to make it appear like, oh, this was all part of it. Okay?
Right.
And that's kind of that beauty. Yes, cards have failed, and sometimes they're not. I mean, there's nothing you can do about them aside from learn. I did a segment on TV where I flashed the card because I was worried about, the person next to me who was interviewing me, and I didn't realize they had a camera super low on the angle. And so live on TV, they're using this camera angle so they see the complete undersides of the cards.
Oh,
and
boy.
they already know it's not there.
Yeah, they already know. The trick has been foiled from the camera coming up at the angle that you didn't expect.
Yep. And so, I mean, from there, you realize that, I mean, it's not about perfection, right?
Yeah.
It's about the experience. And with sales, we're not going to be perfect. No sales culture is going to be perfect. But if we can provide an experience behind it, and we can make people feel optimistic, we can make them feel good, that's what truly sells people, right? So even though I flashed those cards, right, the reaction of the host, the joy that she felt negates all of that, right? Even though an audience could see it, that, the card was there. But that's
pretty
how
awesome.
the magic is how it makes people feel.
I love, as I think about what you said and just the application, and you drew the application right away as far as from the magic fails into real life application, and that it's only ever a fail if we allow it to be. It's only ever a fail if we completely give up on it. I wrote an article, this is a couple of weeks ago, on that. I put fail fast, fail often, and I crossed it out. And I was like, I don't agree with fail fast, fail often. What I do agree with is learn fast and learn often. And that's what I hear you saying with this magic trick. You're learning. You're learning how it is. You need to adapt to, like, for example, what you did with the audience. The host was overjoyed, but the audience, you know what? It kind of like, hey, we get to be on the inside with Tyler as he fools the host. And that became something in and of itself that was a success, even though it could have been considered a failure, but it was a learning that allowed you to learn fast and learn often.
Yep.
Really powerful. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for joining me today on the Streaking Podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure for me to speak to you. Just as we end up here, let everyone know, how do they find you, and what is it that they need to do to either book you or have you come and see them?
Yeah. So the easiest way to find us is the topperformancegroup.com. And from there, you have the list to all of our free resources. We do top performance summits. We have business assessments on there that you get to participate in, as well as you have the link to my personal website right there on that homepage. And that's where you can book me for any speaking engagements for your companies. We love coming in and working with sales organizations. We provide a little magic, a little artwork, and a little business.
It's awesome. Tyler, thank you so much for joining me today. Streakers, hopefully you will reach out to Tyler and look at his website. I will include that in the links in the show notes so that you have that there. If you have any questions for me or would like to continue the conversation in any one of these areas, please feel free to reach out to me at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at mystreaksapp.com. Again, that's Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at mystreaksapp.com. Until we talk again, I hope that you have a marvelous, fantastic, wonderful day. And as always, keep streaking.
It's the little things that make a better